Hello and welcome to the Bears and Lions podcast. This is the podcast where we challenge our present by viewing our past. I'm a firm believer that our greatest future lies within the correct view of our past, because when you actually look at it, you're going to see there's probably a lot of lessons that you learned along the way, but it's up to us to actually take those lessons or proverbs and really let them sink in and become a part of us. And that's what we're going to talk about today is going through some of the best proverbs to live by. And I believe that if you apply these proverbs to your life, you will find that you are the most successful version and the most fulfilled, and you'll have the most joy. And I'm guessing you'll probably impact all the people around you as well in a positive way. So I really enjoyed this conversation. I hope you enjoy as well, and I'll see you on the other side. I'm really excited about this conversation. I just finished the book of Proverbs in the Bible, which is 31 chapters long. And if you're somebody who you're like, I don't believe in God, I don't believe in the Bible, I just want to pause right here and say that's absolutely okay. Now, I'm not going to force anything on you, but I do think that these Proverbs in particular that I've written down, I took the first 15 chapters we're going through, and I wrote some of the best proverbs to amplify and live your best life. So these are, I believe, are universal across the board of humanity. If you apply these proverbs to your life, then you will find success or joy, or things will be fulfilling or more fulfilling in your life. So this is a opportunity where, as I was going through the Proverbs, I journaled and I wrote every morning when I'd read a chapter, I'd journal a verse or two that really impacted me and inspired me to live life. I have some of them, they're written on like my bathroom window or bathroom mirror, and I have some on sticky notes around the apartment, one's in my wallet. But I truly believe that if I become that proverb, if I culminate and live by that proverb, not only will my life be better, but everybody else's life will be better around me, because this proverb cultivates that mentality and joy. So I want to share, these are the best proverbs that I found in the first 15 chapters of Proverbs to amplify and live your best life. So why a proverb, and what's the purpose of Proverbs in the first place? I'm so glad you asked. I actually love that the first chapter of Proverbs shares the purpose of these. Proverbs 1:3 says their purpose is to teach people to live disciplined and successful lives, to help them do what is right, just, and fair. Now, we'll take a time out here, because if you don't believe in God and don't believe in the Bible, out of just hearing that, I hope you would agree that living a disciplined and successful life is a good thing. And I hope that you would also agree that learning to do what is right, just, and fair is also a good thing. Because out of all of those, that's the purpose of Proverbs. Now, what I absolutely love about this is it kind of breaks it down. And then as I went through the book, I saw where each proverb was trying to help people make the best choices that they possibly could. And it didn't mean that you were always going to be rich. It didn't always mean that successful lives were going to be monetarily successful or career-wise successful, but it's the mindset of being able to recognize what you have and considering success outside of just, oh, I got this. See, I think success is becoming the best version of yourself, where you yourself wake up every day with that joy. I think that's a successful life. So whether you understand or believe in the Bible, just I hope that you'll listen to these proverbs as we move on, because the world, I truly believe the world would be a better place if more people lived disciplined lives, right? If they were focused on the things that would allow them to make choices, or that would encourage them to make choices that were correct or right, and they were just and they were fair. So as we go through this, maybe write some of these proverbs down. If you want to go back and listen to them, or you want to go back and watch on YouTube, you can always do that and write these verses or these proverbs down for you. Moving on, Proverbs 2:2, tune your ears to wisdom and concentrate on understanding. As I thought about this, when I wrote it down in my journal, I really realized that listening to certain people that are not wise, you tend to start leaning into that. I know listening to negative talk, I hear a lot about positivity and positive impact and positive reinforcement. But I've been around people who are super negative, and as I've listened to them, all of a sudden I start doubting and I start becoming more negative. Or maybe I'm really confident and I have understanding. I've learned something, but then I'm around somebody who has begun to convince me that I'm not. So I'm not focused on understanding. Listening to them, I start doubting myself and the things that I know. I think that you probably have gone through that as well. If you have, I definitely think that this is a proverb that really sticks out to me because it's what and who you listen to and how it impacts your life, and being able to learn how to focus on that understanding side and the wisdom and the joy and the things that you actually know. Proverbs 2:11, wise choices will watch over you. Understanding will keep you safe. I think this is interesting because wisdom is as much about knowing when to jump as it is knowing when not to jump, right? Your mom would always say, or maybe your dad would always say, if all of your friends jumped off a cliff, would you jump off too? Maybe wisdom would say, yeah, it's a safe and it's a life invigorating, once in a lifetime experience that you absolutely should jump as well. Because you're going to walk away with this thriving, just joy for life. But it also might be that moment where it's late at night and wisdom says you shouldn't walk down that alley alone because that's dangerous, right? It's about keeping you out of the situation that may be dangerous or may not be good for you, right? Maybe it's like putting your hand between a dog fight, right? That's not the best choice because you're probably going to get bit because the dogs don't care about who that is or what hand that is. They just are going to bite whatever's in front of them. Proverbs 3:3-4. Never let loyalty and kindness leave you. Tie them around your neck as a reminder. Write them deep within your heart. Then you will find favor with both God and people, and you will earn a good reputation. Now, this one I thought was really interesting because loyalty and kindness are two things that are absolutely, I think, across the board, extremely valuable. You love finding friends that are loyal. You love being loyal to those special friends, whether they're college roommates or people you met in high school or your best friends, or I think coworkers. A lot of people are trauma bonded by going through a rough job and you go through it together. But it's proven, and I've heard studies and seen studies where it's proven that if somebody has one good friend at their job, they'll stay at a bad job and think it's a much better job because they have one good friend to go through it. So loyalty is so important. And I truly believe that kindness is the language that all people can understand, right? You have languages that if I went to, France right now and somebody started speaking French, I don't know French, so I'm not going to be able to understand them. But if somebody brought me something to eat and said, here, eat, or brought me something out of kindness, a drink of water or whatever, if I was thirsty, I can understand that completely. Thank you so much. I don't understand what you're saying, but thank you for your kindness. I've met people in wild situations that they've just been kind to me out of nowhere, and it speaks volumes to my life. So for your life to be better and for the people's lives around you, make sure that loyalty and kindness never leave you. Proverbs 3:18 says, wisdom is a tree of life for those who embrace her. Happy are those who hold her tightly. Wisdom. Is there enough wisdom in the world, right? How much less would we worry if we had a little bit more wisdom and we had a little bit more understanding where maybe we weren't so stressed about things? Oh, I'm so worried about this because I don't know what's going to happen. But maybe a little bit of wisdom would say, actually, it's not that bad. Like, it really isn't going to be that bad. All of a sudden, we're worrying less and we're able to enjoy life a little bit more. Proverbs 4:5-7. Along the lines of wisdom. It says, get wisdom, develop good judgment. Don't forget my words or turn away from them. Don't turn your back on wisdom, for she will protect you. Love her and she will guard you. Getting wisdom is the wisest thing you can do. Whatever else you do, develop good judgment. I almost feel like this is the parent or the teacher that is like, please, for the love of God, please make good choices, right? All of the things in life that we look back on and the bad choices that we've made, there are some that just, I wish I had developed better judgment at a younger age, because I would have saved myself so much trouble, right? She will guard you is what the Proverbs say, right? Love her and she will protect you. Love her and she will guard you. I have made so many bad choices in previous relationships or previous friendships where I've not loved wisdom and I've completely ignored red flags and things like that. And I've just been absolutely demolished by it. So make sure that you're focused on wisdom and getting wisdom. How are you getting it, right? A lot of us aren't in school anymore. Maybe you're still in school, but what are you learning and how are you learning it? Are you reading books? Are you listening to podcasts? Or are you trying to learn new things at your state in life right now? I think that's a very important thing. Proverbs 4:25-27. Look straight ahead and fix your eyes on what lies before you. Mark out a straight path for your feet. Stay on the safe path. Don't get sidetracked. Keep your feet from following evil. I wrote this down in my journal, but stick to the plan. Chances are it was a good plan. You thought about things and you probably had some form of wisdom that you looked for. Stick to the plan. It's up to you to see it through when times are tough. I know it's hard. I know it gets hard. And if it was easy, everybody would do it. But stick to the plan. It was a good plan. So stay focused on what you're doing, on what you're pursuing. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you want to connect with me further, you can find me on my social media. I'm most active on X, which is formerly known as Twitter, at Kyle Vaught. That's KYLEV as in Victor, ATT. But I'm also trying to become a little bit more active on Instagram and Threads, which is at Kyle_Vaught. So shoot me a follow, shoot me a message, say hi, or maybe there's a topic that you want me to discuss on a future podcast episode. Either way, I cannot wait to get connected. Now let's get back to the conversation. Proverbs 5:21-23 says, "For the Lord sees clearly what a man does, examining every path he takes. An evil man is held captive by his own sins. They are ropes that catch and hold him. He will die for lack of self-control. He will be lost because of his great foolishness." This one's a difficult one because, of course, it talks about the Lord and it talks about sins. And it's like, but the facts of the matter is that the lack of self-control will consume you, right? An evil person who's so focused on what they can consume and what they can get, it will poison their mind. And if you don't believe me, how many of the stardom people in Hollywood have said the massive amounts of money aren't the answer? You know, this isn't the answer. Drugs aren't the answer. Alcohol is not the answer. It's so many people who have gone through it and they say, no, this is you have to learn self-control and discipline, right? If you don't know when enough is enough, then you're always going to remain in that mindset. And this can go for more than just substance abuse. This can go for being in a bad relationship. If you don't know that enough is enough, and you're never going to leave this person who continues to beat you or emotionally abuse you, then you'll get in this mindset of it's not that bad, but it is. So you need to make sure that you are focused on self-control. Proverbs 6:9-11. "But you, lazy bones, how long will you sleep? When will you wake up? A little extra sleep, a little more slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest. Then poverty will pounce on you like a bandit. Scarcity will attack you like an armed robber." I wrote this in my journal. Wake the hell up. Just wake up, right? The time is continually moving by. And the one thing that's consistent between all successful people is that they work hard. They don't have a ton of time to just twiddle their thumbs. Now, I'm not saying don't take any time, because they all will allocate time to be lazy or relax. But I'm talking if you're on a daily, weekly basis looking for the next time that you can take a nap, go to sleep, lay down, Netflix and chill, whatever your habit has formed, if that is a daily or a weekly thing where you just have to sit and chill for hours on end, wake up, because time is passing you by and you have dreams to reach. Proverbs 7:2-3. Obey my commandments and live. Guard my instructions as you guard your own eyes. Tie them on your fingers as a reminder. Write them deep within your heart. Instructions, Proverbs. What are you learning, and have you actually written those on your heart, right? Or are you experiencing the same lessons over and over and over again because you actually haven't learned them, that you've just experienced them, right? I think it's insanity. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. That's what we do all the time, where we don't learn the lesson that we're supposed to learn. So we just keep experiencing it and we expect something completely new to happen. So make sure that you're holding the lessons that you've learned close to your heart and you're writing them and learning from them. Proverbs 8:10-11. Choose my instruction rather than silver, and knowledge rather than pure gold. For wisdom is far more valuable than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare with it. I think there's a reason why many of those that win the lottery often end up bankrupt or back in the same spot within a few years. And I was looking through a couple different studies, and there's some falsified studies that say that 70% of lottery winners end up bankrupt within a few years. I did a little digging, but I did see that many of them do, or they go back to their job because they quit originally and they go back to living in the same environment or the same job or the same layer amount of money that their income that they're making than they, as before the lottery. What good is it to have all those things if you're not making good choices with it? So learn wisdom along the road, so that as you build that wisdom, you're building the wealth of life and knowledge to hang on to some of the things that you actually gain throughout your life. Proverbs 9:11-12. Wisdom will multiply your days and add years to your life. If you become wise, you will be the one to benefit. If you scorn wisdom, you will be the one to suffer. What I got from this and what I wrote down in my journal is never stop learning. Don't scorn the abilities that you have to learn something new. One of the things that I recently actually did was I started doing like it's called diamond art, where you put these little diamond things on art, and it's like paint by numbers, if you remember that, but with these little diamond. And I started doing that at night purely because I wanted to make sure that my mind was still creative and that I practice and put into practice the creativity. So never stop learning. It was fun. It was really cool. And I'm actually working on a really awesome Starry Night one that's massive. And it'll probably go back on the wall right behind me because I think that it's art and it's beautiful. And I'm okay with putting that on the walls of my apartment. Proverbs 10:19. Too much talk leads to sin. Be sensible and keep your mouth shut. Have you ever talked yourself into a problem or talked yourself into trouble because you didn't know when to shut up? I literally wrote it in my journal, shut the hell up. like there are moments where I just talk and talk and talk, and then all of a sudden I'm the one who's talked themselves into a corner of like, oh, maybe I should have just shut up. In sales, there is a you can talk yourself out of a sale by trying to talk too much. So definitely learning when to just shut up and listen. Proverbs 11:25. The generous will prosper. Those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed. I think generosity is unique because it's not about how much you give, or it's not even always about money. Now, of course, people contribute generosity as, oh, he gives a lot of money or he gives a lot of time. But I kind of did some digging into it. And what I really was impacted by this is it's about providing excess value to others that feel less valuable. So generosity can be when you're, checking out at the store, or maybe you run into somebody, in your apartment complex, or a janitor or somebody at your work, it's saying, hey, I really appreciate what you do. All of a sudden, you're providing value to them, and that generosity of providing value to them could absolutely change their day. And let me tell you, those type of compliments and being generous with your words like that, it will absolutely just refresh you. It will, 100%. I can promise you. I love being able to tell somebody, hey, I really appreciate you. Or just walking up to somebody and say, hey, I think that you're really cute. Those things will just impact people. Proverbs 12:1. To learn, you must love discipline. It is stupid to hate correction. If you don't like to be told that you're wrong, how will you ever know if you are learning things? I used to have a real issue with the fact that I always wanted to be right. Problem was I wasn't always right, and sometimes I would stand or stick to my guns that I'm right, they're wrong. And then when I finally learned that I was wrong, it was humiliating. So make sure that you're not just focused on, oh, I'm right, they're wrong, but learn humility and love the discipline side of things, right? It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to admit that you were wrong. And it's okay to move forward, because you're going to learn a lot from that. Proverbs 13:19. It is pleasant to see dreams come true, but fools refuse to turn from evil to attain them. This is one that I wrote down because I think it's very important that dreams should never come at the cost of your soul. And if you don't believe me, a lot of successful people have they stepped on people and they broke relationships, and you find, and it's the stereotype that you hear, right? The older gentleman who has the big house and the wealthy and the nice cars and things like that, but their family left them, and they're alone and they're lonely, and they find themselves at the end of their lives regretting the relationships that they've built and that they lost along the way. Dreams should never come at the cost of your soul and the relationships around you that you've built that are your core relationships. Now, you'll always outgrow people, so that's natural. And there are some friends that won't always go with you to the mountaintop, and that's natural. But it is not about stepping on people and climbing over people and treating people like junk. You should always be kind in that pursuit. Proverbs 14:4. Without oxen, a stable stays clean, but you need a strong ox for a large harvest. You cannot do something of high value and not expect to deal with what is required to handle the high value. Right? A lot of people have these grandiose dreams. I want to do this. I want to start a nonprofit, or I want to do finance, or I want to make a lot of money, or I want to be successful. I want to be a Tik Tok influencer. All of the things that go along with it. But then they don't want to deal with the difficult stuff that goes along, the hard work, the things that it takes behind the scenes, all of the sleepless nights and early mornings where you wake up and you go to work even when you don't want to or you don't feel like it. I think there's not really a lack of better terminology for this, but when you think of what it says, without oxen, a stable stays clean, right? There's no oxen to crap everywhere. But you need a strong oxen. If you've planted a large harvest, if you've planted a large field and you need to harvest, you need an oxen that can handle that as well. And you have to deal with the shit that goes along with that oxen. There's just no other way to describe it. So make sure that if you plan on high value things in life, you are going to have to deal with things that just suck. It's part of it. It's part of that journey. And finally, Proverbs 15:1. A gentle answer deflects anger, but harsh words make tempers flare. Have you ever reacted to somebody and escalated immediately, where maybe you didn't exactly understand the situation and you didn't realize that somebody was angry, and then you said something, a snide comment or something, and they blew up. I've actually lost friends because of this. I've 100% lost good friendships because something simple, I reacted in a difficult way and not gentle answer. Maybe it was a snap back, right? It was something that oh, you're going to dish it. I'm going to dish it right back. And the next thing you know, it just tempers flared like a forest fire and burnt, scorched earth the entire friendship. I think it's important to learn how to react with self-control. Learn how to say, you know what, we're really upset right now. I can tell you're upset right now. And I care about you. Is it okay if I take a moment to hear you so that I can respond in the best way possible? Because I can tell this is very important to you, and so I want to treat it with respect. And I don't just want to go back and forth without thinking. A lot of people will respect that. And a gentle answer deflects that anger. Sometimes people will just say, oh, hey, it is a big deal. I actually appreciate you taking it serious. Yeah, you can have some time to think about it. Or yeah, I can repeat myself. You know, I'm not quite understanding what you're so angry about, but I can tell you're angry and I care about you. So can you please repeat that so that I understand? And maybe their tone will lower and they'll explain it a little bit better. I love these Proverbs, and I think that these are all beneficial Proverbs that will impact and encourage and build and inspire. And your life, if they are focused on and if they are culminated into who you are as a being, right? I think that it will help you become the most successful version of yourself, the most joyful and fulfilled version of yourself, and it'll impact the people around you tenfold as well. So I really hope that you enjoy. We'll revisit some of these Proverbs in the future as well. We'll probably go through the next half of Proverbs at a later date. But I really thought that these were important, and I thought that this was very special. Again, I am going to ask you this, as that's the end of this conversation. But I am going to ask you to, if you've gotten this far in the episode, share this podcast, share your favorite proverb out of this podcast, and just tag me, please. It'll really help me out so that I know who's listening and what podcast that you want to hear. But I really appreciate that. I'm really excited. There's some new things that are happening. Life is changing. There's a ton of content coming your way as well. Some things that I'm working behind the scenes. And so I'm really excited as we get closer and closer to episode 100. It's wild to think about. And before we know it, we're going to be at 1 year of doing this podcast. So I really appreciate everybody who listens to this podcast. Remember to give grace, show love, and as always, stay stellar. Peace.